A child wakes in the middle of the night, thirsty enough to leave his bed. The house is quiet. Everyone else is asleep. Outside, a streetlight burns beside a neighbouring trailer. Then the light splits. 3 white points form a triangle and begin moving toward the house. Years later, in another story, a phone lights up with a notification from someone who should not be online. And elsewhere, in a house where the activity once went quiet, the knocks begin again. Today's stories are of strange contact, impossible timing, and the unsettling feeling that something somewhere noticed the person on the other side. Hello, I'm Sarah and welcome to the Whispering Woods Reddit and listener story episode. I have a number of Reddit stories to share today and I'll get straight into them. Are you ready for the first story? Did anyone as a child ever see intelligent moving lights in a triangular formation that could pass through solid structures? And this story is from Farshock360. Thank you so much for letting us share your story. When I was a kid, I remember being woke up from a sleep and I was really thirsty. Like my lips were chapped and peeling. This was the mid-90s. I was anywhere from 4 to 7 years old. I went to the kitchen to get a mellow yellow out of the fridge and sat on a bench next to the double windows, looking outside from the trailer I grew up in. It had to be midnight or later, and I was the only one up in the house. I was staring at the streetlights at my aunt's trailer, which was our neighbour a few metres away. The lights that are on top of telephone poles. I saw the one light from the telephone pole transform into 3 separate lights in a triangular formation, and they began moving towards very fast. Out of fear, I threw my drink on the ground and began running down the narrow hallway that leads to my parents' bedroom. On the way down the hallway, in my peripherals, I could see this white light on the hallway walls, and then I felt a burning sensation on my back. It wasn't really painful, just intense. I remember jumping from the burn as I was running. I ran into my parents' room crying and my mum woke up. I slept with her the rest of the night. When I woke up, I asked her where I fell asleep the night before, to make sure it wasn't a dream. She told me I initially went to sleep in my bed, but woke up scared and ran to her room and woke her up. I remember thinking in my childlike logic, I didn't dream this then. Has anyone ever experienced anything like this? Nothing like it has happened since. It made no noise and travelled through my childhood home with no physical commotion. I remember the next day, my dad was fussing because the floor was sticky where I threw my soda and ran. Now, I wasn't a child, but I have had experiences with strange lights, and I do think we all need to start looking up a lot more if you're not already doing it. Because there's some weird stuff going on up in our skies, and the amount of stuff we probably miss all the time. Because personally, I very rarely look up at the sky. I need to start doing it more because I love it anyway. The clouds, the full moon is generally when I will go out and bathe under it for a little while. I do keep my clothes on. I'll just add that in there, all right? Getting a bit old now. But yeah, start looking up. Are you ready for the second story? Strange notification regarding my ex who passed away. And this story is from Chilindrina. Thanks so much for letting us share your story. We really, really appreciate it. And there are trigger warnings for this story for alcoholism, toxic relationship, and death. In 2022, I experienced something that I cannot explain to this day. Maybe it was just a weird coincidence, but it still haunts me. So here's the story. My ex-girlfriend and I, also a woman, dated for a year and 4 months, starting in 2016 and breaking up in 2018. My ex was an alcoholic, which is something I found out about 2 months after we started dating. She was drunk every single day. I was 18 when we started dating, and my naive mind thought that I could save her. So I stayed. I stayed through her rehab attempts that went nowhere. I stayed through her drunken rages, emotional abuse, mocking, cheating, treating me like I was her nurse, her younger sister whom she could bully, her muse, her lover, and in the end, her traitor. I'm not going to lie and say that everything about that relationship was awful, nor that she was an awful person, because she wasn't. She was a terribly unstable and hurt woman, incredibly intelligent, educated, and beautiful. And there were days when I genuinely loved her as a girlfriend. But most days, I felt like my love for her was more of a parent-child type of love, and she was the daughter. I've had a difficulty letting go because I saw her potential, and I loved her for that. But she was so self-destructive that she didn't ever care about what happens to her. One of those situations we got ourselves in because of her alcoholism was her drunk driving and the police chasing us. Please note that this moment is crucial for the interpretation of the weird notification I got. So, we are from a small Eastern European country, and many times people will immediately realise what city or town you're from, simply based on your last name. My girlfriend often joked that people always assumed she was from one town in the south of our country, when in reality, her family is from a larger city in the north. One day she came to pick me up. I didn't drive back then, and as we were driving off, the police tried to stop her. She was, of course, drunk, so she sped right next to them and took a turn left to avoid them. The police saw that and started chasing us, so in the end she stopped and got out of the car. She gave her licence to the police officer, and as soon as he saw her last name, he asked her if she was from that town in the south. Based on his accent, she realised he was from that town, so she played along and told him that she was, in fact, born there. Since she visited that town as a kid, she knew what it looked like. She knew the name of the only elementary school there, and she said her family house is right next to the school. She and the officer chatted a bit about how they miss their hometown and how homesick they sometimes feel. He asked her if she was speeding up to avoid them, and she said that she didn't see them. He let her go after that, and we went our way. In 2018, I broke up with her. I couldn't handle it anymore, and my mental health wasn't in the best state at the time. I began dating my current girlfriend shortly after that, and now we're happily engaged. I had a no-contact rule for my ex after the breakup, as I wanted to process that whole relationship without her interference. We began talking again 1 year after the breakup, but I avoided meeting her in person. She was dating her co-worker, whom she was cheating on me with, and she was trying to quit drinking. The 2 times we'd met for coffee, she ordered a beer instead of coffee, so I realised she was using the opportunity to drink, since her girlfriend wasn't there, and she knew I didn't like fighting and arguing in public, so I wouldn't say anything. 1 year after the last time I'd seen her, in August of 2021, a mutual friend contacted me to let me know that my ex was in a coma and in the urgent care at our local hospital. Apparently, she was diagnosed with severe encephalitis and her immune system was weak. This was during the pandemic, and urgent care doesn't allow visits anyways, so there was no way of seeing her. Our mutual friend would update me every time she had new information about her. At first, she was doing better. They played her favourite music in the room, and her heart rate changed. So the doctors figured out she was getting better. 2 weeks later, in November of 2021, she passed away. The doctors said that her immune system was in such a terrible state that it was a wonder she survived that long. I didn't go to the funeral because I was out of the country at the time. The day she died, I bought her favourite beer and a red shawl, her favourite colour, and placed them on the windowsill to pay a small tribute to her, and I played her favourite song and lit some candles. Life went on. I went through the grieving process with my therapist, and I was okay. Although it was the first time in my adult life that someone I knew passed away. Then in 2022, the notification happened, and to this day, I don't know what to make of it. I was on summer vacation with my family, and it was the first time we were spending our vacation at a different place. Usually we'd go to visit my dad's family that lives in the north of the neighbouring country, but this time we went to the south. On our way back home, we were passing through that small town in the south that everyone thought my ex-girlfriend was from. And as soon as we passed the elementary school that was right next to the road, I got a notification on my phone. It was the Viber app, the less fancy version of WhatsApp widely used for messaging in my country. And the notification said, my ex's name is online after a long time. I immediately clicked on the notification and it opened the chat with my ex. But in the upper part, right where her name is and where the activity is, it said, last active, long time ago. I thought maybe someone began using her phone number, so I called the number a few minutes later after I've composed myself, but just heard the ringing that plays when a number is inactive. I also sent her a question mark in the Viper chat to check if the message was delivered, but it was stuck on sent. I deleted the chat after that. After this, I've never gotten the notification for her number, and I still have her contact saved. I've checked it a few times to see if the activity changed, if the profile picture was changed, meaning that someone else began using her number on the app. But everything looks the same, and the activity is stuck on last active long time ago. I still don't know if this was just an extremely strange coincidence, or if it was her way of greeting me. I'm not religious, but I like to think that there's something beyond our physical world that sometimes enjoys playing with our heads and our sanity. Oh, that story made me feel quite sad, if I'm honest. My ex Mais's dad died of alcoholism, and I had a really very similar type experience where I continued to send messages through, and I did it for quite a few years as I was dealing with all that grief, you know. And one day I'd looked, because it was through like Facebook, and one day I saw that the message had been received, and it was really strange, and it really kind of freaked me out. But it was only on my phone. If I logged in on my laptop, it said something, you know, that it'd been sent and it was stuck in sent. But it was so strange. So I can completely get what the author of the story is saying, because it kind of just gives you this weird sense. When I have had other strange experiences like that with Mais's dad, when he was in the hospital and just before he passed away, we'd given him a mobile phone to use to call us. And because he was an alcoholic, he used to call me at all hours of the night because, he had no internal clock. Basically, it was UF. And I was at university at the time. And so I couldn't always take his calls. And, being rung up at 2 o'clock, sorry, mate, but no, please don't do that. I've got an 18-month-old, I can't deal with it. And then one night he rang the phone at 2 a.m. Now, at this stage, he was suffering from complete organ failure. And I don't know what happened, and I still regret it to this day, because he rang and I was still half asleep. Didn't know at this stage, because we still thought he might pull through. And I just thought, I'm not answering that now, And I regret it because he couldn't even use his hands, and I don't know how he managed to call at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, you could think maybe one of the nurses did it or something, but they're not going to support him to ring somebody at 2 a.m, I don't think. And I never did find out what it was that he wanted, because then he had a massive heart attack. And the next time I saw him was in the ICU. But I still think about it now. Still quite some time ago now. We're talking, Maisie was 12. She's nearly 26 this year. So quite a few years ago. But, you still get that sadness, don't you? And she obviously does. Are you ready for the third and final story? Why is this happening again? Are they gone now? A deleted user on Reddit. So about 9 to 10 years ago, a lot of paranormal things would happen around my house, to the point I thought I was crazy, until my mum noticed weird happenings. I'm going to start with my family has a lot of traumatic things happen. And we've all had severe depression, anger, anxiety. I'm pretty sure that attracted spirits to our home. For some reason, they mess with me more than my family. And now that it's happening again, they still like to mess with me, and not so much my mother. I used to see tall, shadowy figures that had an outline to them almost. There was definitely more than one spirit, and one time I witnessed a little girl with red hair running into my bathroom. I've heard a woman laughing while I've been singing to myself. I was 11 and liked to sing. And I've also heard someone whistle at me when I was drying off from the shower. My mirror used to be in weird places. It would be taken off from the wall and put in random spots. Now, in the past couple of months, some things have begun happening again. It all started at a different house. I was laying on the bed and heard what seemed like someone smashing their fist down on the bed. Might be unrelated. They've had things happen at their place before. A couple of weeks later, at my home, where things used to happen, I heard 3 knocks at my front door, then 2 knocks on the wall by my head, along with footsteps in the same room. Next week later, roughly, I was undressing in the washroom for a bath, when something threw my phone across the bathroom twice in a row. A couple of days prior to that, my mother heard a male voice say something, and something running up and down the stairs. So I had enough, because I couldn't sleep at night or be alone. I was so terrified that it's happening again. I smudged my house myself with a friend present. About 10 minutes after I smudged the house and was feeling some relief, we both heard a little girl's voice say something loud and then giggle faintly. The little girl sounded really happy, but it's scary nonetheless. At that point, I broke down because I thought I had gotten rid of whoever is here, and it's still there. I was thinking it's the little girl I'd seen 10 years ago run into my bathroom, and maybe she's a good spirit, and I got rid of the bad. I haven't been home really, and when I am, I'm still taking pills so I can sleep. Otherwise, I'm terrified. I feel like I'm being watched when I'm here, and I'm looking for advice. If there's anyone here who can tell me if it's a good spirit or a bad one. How do you know if they are gone for good? What's your opinion on this? Oh, that sounds so desperate. That poor person, because depression is a funny thing as well, because I've been there. I'm always there. But it can mess with you, for sure. Mess with lately, because I've been in the house a lot on my own. I keep hearing things, and I know it's probably not anything, but I do you focus on it more, I think. And it's all connected to mental health, isn't it? But either way, even if that isn't, that's still really terrifying. Well, that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed, and we will catch you again on Sunday for the After Dark. Take care, everyone. The stories told on the Whispering Woods are inspired by historical records, witness reports, and local folklore. While every effort is made to research and represent events accurately, some details, names, and locations may differ from official accounts or have been changed out of respect for those involved. These episodes are created for storytelling and entertainment purposes and should not be considered definitive fact or investigative journalism.